Hi, this is Caleb, and thanks for joining me on Conversations with Caleb Lee. My second guest is Rich Adofo. Now, quick disclaimer, this episode, unfortunately, I made the mistake of messing up the dedicated audio. So if you were to join me on the next couple of minutes, you would hear a lot of clicking, as the autofocus on the camera that I had then just made a terrible sound, and so did the lens. So I apologize for that. If that's going to annoy you, definitely skip over it. But I implore you, it's one of the most amazing conversations that I've had. Rich Adofo is a unique type of person, and he's also an immigrant. And I start with that because a lot of what we talked about was his experiences coming to the U.S. I don't want to give away too much, but basically, we hear a lot about immigration these days, and to actually meet someone who had to go through what he had to is very different from reading it on your Apple News, on your phone, or whatever media source that you get information from, whether it be at Facebook. And Rich's story is compelling. I was constantly taken aback, and he told me experiences that he had to go through that I couldn't believe he actually experienced them. I'm starting to repeat myself, but you get the point in terms of his story is very humbling. I hope anyone who joins me on this conversation is patient enough to deal with the sound and bear with my slow responses. I just had a hard time digesting all of it, but overall, the perspective and the insight he provides, I'm sure every immigrant, and not just immigrant, anyone who's had to struggle through starting from the bottom, truly from the bottom. I mean bottom as in, for example, taking showers out of a sink bottom because you don't have a shower or bath. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Conversations with Caleb Lee.
Brother, thanks again, man, for being open to letting me interview you.
Absolutely.
Now, after getting to know you for just a little bit, there's a lot I want to capture. But I don't want to, being conscious of time, but at the same time not losing too many details. So I think I want to start with kind of a history of you. And right now, if you can explain to the audience what you do right now, and then we'll go back in history.
Okay. I'm a filmmaker, anything that entails film. That's where I find myself, and that's why I really find my calling too, And I say that, I don't take that lightly at all, because I remember my sister had called me and said, "Hey, I had a dream about you." And I said, "What do you mean?" It's like, "I had a dream about you. In one hand you had a Bible, in the other hand you had a camera." And she had no idea I'd been doing film. So that made me go, "Oh, wow, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than I'd ever imagined it to be."
Yeah, and I think that's where we initially kind of started to realize, hey, we're both very passionate about the creative industry.
That's right.
And for you, in particular, cinema, which is such a powerful way to capture time.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone can start a conversation with a stranger with, what's your favorite movie?
That's right.
And you can kind of start to figure out, okay, this person is attracted to that. But, I want to spend a good portion of time in this interview in your history, in your experiences. And I think, we delved into it a little bit. But it's a story that probably millions of people can experience. And this is my first time sitting down with someone who has personally experienced and has been willing to be open about those experiences. So if we can go back to, I think you said it was 2003.
Yeah.
So tell me where you're from and then where you were at 2003.
Good. So originally from Ghana, West Africa, born and bred in Accra, parents same. And we started traveling, the family started traveling. My father had been traveling in late 70s, so it got to a point where my mother was like, "Okay, you've been traveling and going back. How about all of us just go and just, and stay, migrate, right?" And my father agreed. So my parents went first, and they brought my brother and I. The problem is, you go on a visa. You know, you in Europe on a visa. Once your visa runs out, obviously you don't have legal status to continue to stay. You know, so we're in Europe. The first visit, I came back to school in Ghana, so I was there for a month just for a holiday in England. The second time around, I decided to stay, pursue education, whatever I need to do to be able to stay there.
Right.
And this was in 2003, the ending of 2002 to 2003. So long story short, in terms of my stay in England, my visa runs out, and at this time, my parent had come back to Ghana for vacation, so it was just my brother and I, literally just us two, just trying to figure out life. And
you were how old at that point?
At this point, I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 17, and you know, I get this call. Everything was good till that point, you know.
And before that phone call, how long were you in?
I was in England a little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah. So still relatively short.
Yeah,
stay,
yeah,
you know. And once again, the meaning of the stay was to pursue education, to pursue things that can help better yourself. You know, the story of everybody that comes from a developing country. So I get this call. My boss was like, "Hey, it's Sunday afternoon. Do you want to work?" I said, "Sure." I get outside, I walk to the van. Immediately I get in the van with, I'll say maybe 8 people. Police officer pulls up next to us, orders everybody to get out of the van. Our documents are searched, and he goes over everything. Those who have the proper documentation are allowed to get back on the van. I was pulled to the side. So he looks at my name and he goes, "I arrested your brother this morning." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I arrested your brother." And he takes me, he asked me, "Where do you live?" You know, I gave him my address. He took me and searched our apartment. What he was looking for, I believe, was a passport. And I took that passport and hid it. Had I not done that, I wouldn't be here. Because once they grab your passport, they pretty much destroy it. So you cannot use that same passport to go to another. Like I couldn't have gone to the American embassy. So that was what he was looking for. So I guess was quick enough to get to my room, get the passport, and just sort of hide it in my pants before he walked in. And so I will say, however, that saved me really, because it was the same passport that I went to the American embassy with. Okay. And if it is destroyed and written deportation stamp on it, you won't be able to use it. You know, and once you're deported, it takes 10 years before you can ever enter the country again. That is if they want you to enter, you know. So I'm arrested, taken to a processing center, followed jail, cell, whatever you want to call it. And I'm 17 at this point. You know, I'm thinking, this is going to be over. You know, this I don't even think it's that serious. You know, it's a visa, guys. It's not like I heard I stole anything, you know. I never committed a crime in my life. So I'm here in this jail, and I see getting ready to process the papers, and you know, like take all of those like pictures that we see
in the movies,
like in the mug shots and
the side shot.
Yeah, they did all of that. So he goes, "Give me your belt. Take off your belt." And I'm like, "Why?" And I understood later on is they do that so you don't commit suicide in there. And it's weird that they know this. So apparently
it's happened.
Correct. You know, some poor guy who knew he has nothing to go back home to. It's like, you know what? So that goes on, that happens, and I'm going to talk briefly about my stay there in terms of what I dealt with, in terms of, you know, what I experienced there. So a lawyer is provided for you. Public defendant didn't really do much for the case. I guess to him was really like another day, you know, because he deals with people like myself all of the time. So I didn't even think he took much interest in the case, you know. The next thing I know, I am being processed to be deported, you know, to be kicked out of England. the cell is, I haven't seen anything as depressing as the jail cell. Like, you know, all you have are these four walls, your bed, and a little area to the right where you can ease yourself. This is 2003. Kind of crazy. I still remember some of these things in terms of, because it's like these are stuff that are like hard hidden, you know. So it kind of leaves a print, and then, you know, in your mind. So while I was there, all I could think about was, okay, what is going to happen to me when I leave to go to Ghana? Will I be able to resuscitate myself and come back to, not come back to England because I knew it was done, but do something with my life, you know, do something for my life, to do something for those around me. So this is what was going on in my head. And occasionally I would deal with this. I don't know what to define it or what to call it. But it's like, you know, instances like, you know, the food that they will bring me, the microwavable food, after, if I eat it, I'll turn it upside down. I'll just like play drums and make the weirdest noise you can hear a person make, you know. And I didn't care who was listening or whether they were listening or not. It was just to get something out of, you know, just to get something out, you know. And I remember they told me there was a gym there, so I kind of got excited. You know, it's like, hey, I get to go there and work out a bit. So they take me to the gym. They lock the door right behind me, of course. And it's just nothing but just concrete, you know, all over the place, and sand on the floor. And in my mind, I was like, okay, is this like a psychological game that is being played here, where you see nothing but hopelessness? You know what I mean? You know, there's nothing to see in your jail room or your cell, and nothing to see here where we call the gym either. So anyway, the stay there did not, obviously, you know, I'm not going to say it did not do anything for me, because I got a chance to get a self-check, you know, in life. Like, wow, this is real, Richard, you know, this is real. People can get really hurt, you know. And while I was there, you know, I thought about my father. I thought about what my parents would. Will I disappoint them? You know, although this was my fault, you know, and it happens to.
It wasn't really. You make it sound like you committed a felony.
That's right.
You didn't do anything to be thrown in
right.
jail and treated less of a person. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that's how
it is seen there
right now.
You know,
but yes, please.
You know, so.
But you did mention how there's a person with you.
Yeah.
Especially during that transportation, and
right.
they literally.
Oh yeah, I'm about to get to that. Yeah. And actually, this is a ticket that the government of your country has to pay for.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. You know, your government pays for that, and you know, so after I got picked up, I personally asked the cop, say, hey, am I going to be allowed to take showers? Because obviously, he did tell me that I would be allowed to take showers. And that didn't happen my entire stay there.
And how long were you?
I was there. I was picked up on Sunday. I was removed from that cell to another place on Wednesday. And truth be told, at that moment, taking a shower was like the least of your worries, you know. But at least you're gonna send me home to my country with nothing in my hand. All of my properties, you have confiscated them. You're not allowing me to take anything but my person. Can you offer the brother a shower before he goes home? You know. So I'm taken from there, placed in this van with several other immigrants that are being deported. We're taken to another processing unit. And it's long and it's depressing. And each and every process is sort of like you get to think about, wow, this is really happening to me. Nobody's here but me. You know, nobody to talk to, nobody to consult, nobody to hear from, but just there by yourself, you know. So after that is done, they will hand you over to someone who will walk you over to the plane. And can you imagine traveling with all of these wonderful people, going back to their country or going to visit or whatever, and you're being held, like, you know, like physically to go to the train, to the plane. And
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Everyone else on the plane.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, you go through a secret path. No. Yeah, you know, and obviously they can tell you.
Everyone knows,
you know, so it's, and I remember I sat like this the entire time on the plane, 6 hours or 7 hours to get to Ghana. So there was a lot of things that happened in that moment. You know, every step of the way, you've been helped till you get to the plane, and everything changed when I got to Ghana. My father was standing at the airport, waiting for me, and he was the first person that saw me, and he said to me, "Everything's gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be all right. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get through this." And those words brought comfort to my heart, brought comfort to the situation that I had been dealing with for the past week or so. And at this moment, my brother was still detained. You know, they let him go, but it was after months. His situation was different because his legal status with the person that he had gotten married to, and though the process was not fully done yet, you know, his was a bit different. But he was still detained, and even with that, he was going to be sent back home had he not standing his ground, and his lawyers and the wife and all of that. So he was there for months while I was home. I get home, my father's like, "It's going to be all right, you know, we'll figure out another way." So my mother could not even look at me that night because she was so heartbroken. You know, it's like, we worked for nothing, you know, everything that you worked for, it's like it's been left there, and now you're here. What are you doing here, you know?
You know, I didn't really think much about it, but now that you mention that, your parents must have made a lot of sacrifices for you to try to start a life there.
Yep.
Do you know to what extent that they sacrificed?
Yes. In terms of financial sacrifice, of course, you know, to get your family from, you know, your birthplace, take them overseas, takes some sort of financial commitment, you know. And the thing too is, with England, although we were not, my brother and I were not legal residents there, my father still had to get paperwork to even allow us to do, you know, to get through school, and this was tough, you know. It wasn't like I could just go and then apply for it and get it, you know.
What did your parents do to make money?
My mother worked at a hospital. My father occasionally worked as a security guard in England. He did all sorts of jobs, really, you know. But what I remember vividly was the security job that he did, and at this moment of his life as a record executive, the company had collapsed, you know. So times had gotten hard. So every now and then, maybe a music opportunity would come in, but that was not his focus at that point, you know. He owned a record label in the 90s, a very, very flourishing record label in Ghana. But musicians left the record label to go to other labels that, you know, had promised them more money and more better contracts and stuff. So at this point in England, you know, obviously we won't go to England if the record label was flourishing, you know. And so all jobs, you know, anything to sustain his family. And it was a 1-bedroom. My brother and I in the living room, parents, of course, in the bedroom. And we were happy. You know, had moments, of course, as any other family, till this thing happened, you know. It changed the course of our walk.
What really stands out to me is the car story, or that moment. So if you can kind of go into that.
Yeah. So, you know, when we arrived in Ghana, my father started the process. I'd say maybe a month later, we started applying for the visa, the paperwork, everything that is needed. And once we got the visa, I remember the person told us, "Hey, come back." The consulate told us to come back around 2 p.m., get the visa. We're happy, we're in the car, you know, we're excited. And then, it's like one of those things in the movies where you're excited and then it hits you like, ticket money. You know, where are we going to get that from? So the same car that we drove to go get the visa is the same car that he sold to make sure the visa is put to use. And I remember exactly where I was standing at our house in Ghana and where he was. I was like right by his bedroom door, and he was about to enter, and we were discussing how to do this. And he's like, "I'm going to sell my car." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to sell my and he did. He sold his car to buy 2 plane tickets for himself and I to bring me here. That's really why he came, because he doesn't like overseas. He enjoys his country, rightfully so. Who doesn't, and so the purpose was to bring me here, get me settled, and then he can leave and go back. So that's what he did. He brought me here. We arrived. We lived with my auntie. We got kicked out 2 weeks later because of some situation that someone there had with my father, and it was like really a payback. It was like, oh, okay, all right, now you're here with your son. All right, you guys out, and so after I left my auntie's house, it's like just trying to find a place to really lay your head, from Maryland to Harlem. It's like just trying to find some sort of peace, stabilized place to,
And where did you end up ultimately? Fast forward 2-3 years.
Yeah, so after I left my auntie's house, or we left my auntie's house, this was the beginning of 2004. I arrived in May of 2004, so in that same month we were kicked out. Went to Maryland, Harlem, and eventually came back to Irvington, New Jersey. We got a studio apartment there, my father and I. And to make sure things were handled properly and we can afford it, and it wasn't that expensive either, but he knew he was going to be leaving soon, so he rented half of the studio apartment to a co-worker of his. So it was 3 of us in the studio apartment. Just so when he leaves and something happens to my job, I am not like stranded. Somebody is paying like half the rent or whatever. So I ended up in New Jersey and got a job here and there, and because of the legal status, that job fell through. I was almost made assistant manager, but because of the status, it fell through. And my father also helped me secure another job before he left. This was like a restaurant in Montclair, and they did not ask for paperwork, so that was an under the table type of gig. So that worked out. I was there for about 2.5 years, and moved on to Virginia after that. The reason of my travel to Virginia was around that time. I believe this was probably 2007. Around that time, there had been news, this news like spread like wildfire to most of the Ghanaians in the United States, that Virginia has become like a great soil to get your legal documentation if you're looking for it. You go to Virginia, the process is easier over there. So my mother called me and said, hey, your auntie, another auntie, my matrilineal auntie, is a maternal auntie, is in Virginia. So why don't you go there, stay with her, and see if you can get this paperwork done. It fell through, so I left Virginia about a year and a half. I was there for, I think, and came back to New Jersey.
So at this point, what I'm really curious about is after all of this, and you're in the U.S. now, and you still have to figure out how you're going to not end up on the streets.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious about how you've turned a simple picture, a simple video, into a source of revenue where you can feed your family,
correct,
where you can take care of your loved ones, and you're here now. Here you and I right now today. Right. So I'm curious how in all of that, and I can't imagine the emotions, the feelings behind it, the stress behind that. I can't even imagine where you are. So how did you make that transition? How did you make that happen?
To me, it was you come from certain families where you don't know how to give up, and even when things are tough and you almost have like suicidal thoughts, you still don't know how to give up, it's just not in you,
yeah.
And so to me it was like, okay, where is your passion? What is your passion? Let us find some sort of stabilization within that passion. If this is what you're gonna do, or study the craft, grow in it.
Were you exposed to anything beforehand, or
in terms of
cinema and photography?
No. in Ghana, the closest I was exposed to cinema was scripts, writing scripts, and this was all done conceptually. I write it in my head, write like full length stories in my head, pause them in my head, rewind them in my head. I mean, this was real. So in terms of exposure to it, maybe yes, you know, because I understood what I wanted to see, and I always visualize it, and this is what I wanted to see. I have to see it here first before it can become anything that is, you know, can be touched, you know. So that was my level of exposure in Ghana in terms of, you know, trying to know what my passion is and my vision and all of that. So I you know, obviously this is a story that like spans out, you know, years, you know, so we can, it would take us all day to, you know, get through 1/8 of it, right? But when I left Virginia, I came back to New Jersey, sleeping over at a friend's studio apartment. But, you know, him and I are still friends till now, obviously. And you know, trying to find my grounds, you know, trying to find a foundation for what I needed to be doing. And, you know, I was able to get an office that I turned into an apartment. And obviously there are no showers there, so I took showers in the sink.
Wait. Hold on. Actually, take 2 steps back.
Yeah. I found so when I came back to New Jersey, when I came back from Virginia to New Jersey, I found a job. My friend who I slept at his studio apartment, he found me a job at a dispatching company. I was dispatching taxis and all of that. That same building had a vacant office space.
I see.
And it was really cheap. For whatever reason, the landlord was, I don't know, he just didn't care about it and he just wanted to rent it out. It rented out for $275 a month. Wow. It started from $400 a month, and later on I expressed to him that my income was very low, and if he can give me a break and then later on hike it up again, that's fine. And he did, and it stayed at $275. But initially it was like $400. And because at that point, I had, you know, obviously moved from my friend's house. I had rented a basement, a single-room basement from this guy that I knew. It was also $250 a month. It was really, really cheap. He said, if you take out the garbage, you can have it. I said, sure. The terms, however, here is the place looked like a bomb went off in there. Horrible, you know. I actually have this at the end of my documentary, Images of an Immigrant. I took the camera there, and the way it looks like now, you can say it's a little bit better when I lived there, but it was bad. I mean, I don't even want to recollect it.
Okay, so you were in a basement, because I'm confused now. So you said you're at your friend's studio, and then you said, you mentioned a basement. So was that after you left your friend's studio?
Correct.
So you're in this basement,
Correct.
and then from there you went on to
that office.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I was getting paid, so I figured, you know what, I can get a place for myself. You know.
But you still mentioned how you took showers in a sink.
Oh yeah. So this was at the office. So now I've gotten this office, and I'm like, there's no way I can go afford a place. I'm going to use the office for whatever vision that I had, whether it be a film, and I started a Christian online radio station, Enlightened Radio. So this was like my operation space and venue, right? But then where do I lay my head? You know, I cannot go and afford a place. So that became the place I slept. I hid my clothes on the roof, on the ceiling. Yeah. You know, it's one of those square tiles where you can actually hide something there. So all my clothes went there. The couch, of course, was my bed. And I took showers in the sink. I would literally cut plastic bags, lay it on the in the bathtub, and on the floor of the bathroom. It's just a commercial building now.
Yeah.
And I would take showers in the sink, and if obviously it was spilled, so then, you know, the plastic was correct. And that was my life there.
Okay, so this for me is crucial. Yeah. You're in this $275 commercial office space with a bathroom.
Yeah.
You're living there, you're hiding your clothes in the tiles of the drop ceiling.
Yeah.
you're laying down plastic bags. So when you shower, you can clean it up easy.
Right.
How long were you in this situation?
Oh, this I was there for a good amount of time because, I was there for a long time. And
a couple of years.
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, so this is where the magic happens. For me, it's funny because I would say that would be like a rock bottom for me, but there is clearly a rock bottom before that. There's a lot. You showed me a lot of. You've opened my eyes to how low it can actually go.
Yeah.
So it's not rock bottom for you at that point. You have your own private space, but it's still not where you want to be. It's not where you have this couch here and this nice carpet here. So during those years, you had a vision, and what did you first do to pursue that?
The first thing was to work with what I had. Okay, you gotta. Someone had bought a camera for the radio station. You know, one of those camcorders from Walmart. So I was like, okay, maybe I can start doing short films with this. Around that time, I had been introduced to a friend, a brother, who later on became a very good brother in the Lord, and we worked together. So we will come up with concepts and film them, you know. And obviously, this was like, forget little budget. This was like, you know, like, and you know, not knowing what you. All I knew was I have a vision, and this is what I want to see. Now, how to materialize it may be the issue, but at least I still sustain that vision, you know.
Do you remember any of those projects that you had?
Yeah. I have this one. I'm embarrassed. There's this one that we shot at this park about a guy who wanted a family and didn't have one, and eventually it happened for him in the future. So we will film these things, and I was still working at a dispatch company. Yeah. It was like down the hall because it was in the same commercial building. Yeah. And now I remember, if on my break I would go there, you know, do what I had to do with, you know, film or the radio station, and then upload songs on the station, and then come back. Sure. You know, and then, you know, that was where I lived. You know, that's where I lived, and had meetings there, you know, for potential clients who wanted to film documentaries, you know.
Wow.
And people who came to obviously knew was not, because you would not know, you wouldn't see my clothes. Everything is hidden up there.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's, so did you have at least some furniture? Like a nice.
Oh yeah, it was a couch. It was like a, not really a big couch, something really small, like one of those sofa
futons.
Yeah, and it was there before I occupied the space, so I kept it.
Yeah.
And that was the only furniture that was there. And eventually I started getting tables. I got a laptop.
Really quick, did you make money off of that radio?
Yeah, it was. Money came through donations, and I've got to be honest, I can like remember the donations that we got from there. It did not exceed $300. Okay. You know, this is like a really low, small operation. Yeah. But the money did not motivate me. What motivated me was, wow, dude, you can reach across the world with this thing. You know, so that was a portion of it, you know. But the main goal was like, wow, film. This camera is interesting, you know.
So you had this camcorder from Walmart. Mm-hmm. How many projects did you work on?
Oh man,
during that time. So how long did it take for you to craft this?
So around that time, we were still doing things for the radio station. So we will film messages for the radio station. And these messages obviously weren't like anything for cinema. It was just straight up messages, you know. And I would say maybe over 100 videos for those messages, and then we did like 3 short films with a camera. You know, and
I'm so curious how you edited these. I know you had a computer, but I'm sure it was.
You know, had Sony Vegas at that time.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Right.
You know, so it's like you work with what you have till you get what you're really looking for. You know?
Do you remember your first paid gig?
Yes. So when I first came to the States in 2004, I became a camera assistant for this guy at our church. Okay. So when he went out to shoot, he would bring me along, and he would give me something small. I don't really remember. It was more like, stipends, not any like big official stuff. The first paid gig was my first music video. And honestly, even at this time, it is still, though I was getting paid to do a music video, I was like shy at the work that I did back then, and the quality of it, like, oh gosh. But for that time, for that period, and for that budget, it worked out, Yeah. So I think my first pay was a music video that I shot for a Haitian artist, who later on removed the video from YouTube because he had changed his spiritual beliefs, and he didn't want to be associated with that music.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that was my first one, and after that it started coming. I will advertise myself on Craigslist, and folks will call me, and I had this $100 deals.
Yeah, wow.
Where it's like you shoot one scene for $100, and I edit it right there for you, and
that's
people took advantage of it. Yeah, so then times started getting better. Yet still, I was still in this office.
How did you come up with that?
Just thought of how to move this camera. I thought of how, you have the camera here. What can you do? At that point, when I started shooting the music videos, I had bought a Rebel T2i, so I was like moving up a little bit. And I was still at the office. I was still in this. I was there for a long time, and I remember I had a conversation with my father, and I said to him, "Hey, I'm in an office. I take showers, and the bathroom that I will use." This is not a bathroom that is like exclusive to my office. It was for the entire floor.
Sure.
So when I'm there, I have to time it to make sure to make sure that the people who rented from that commercial building were not in there at that time. And sometimes I will hear somebody coming up the steps, and now I'm locked up. I can't really go up.
Right.
You running out of the bathroom with towels. I got reported a few times to the landlord that this guy is staying here.
Oh,
and the landlord really, they did. He's like, Richard, you can't. And I'm like, all right, I will find a place to go. But it's like, where do I go? So part of him understood that, so he didn't bother me, because I didn't really bother anybody there. I was staying there, get my work done, and go to work, come back.
This landlord, though, to me, and I don't know what the beliefs of the viewers are. But between you and me, this sounds like an angel. This is from God.
Yeah.
And absolutely. He knew you were living there too.
Absolutely.
Any landlord in their mind would have kicked you out immediately.
Yes.
But these cheap, and
Correct.
He knew you were there.
Correct. And the crazy thing is, this was not like a rundown place. It was in the center of a budding area in Maplewood. Maybe I don't know why it was that dirt cheap. I don't know. But it started from $400, and later on I expressed to him, hey, can I do $275 for a while? He's like, sure. Just send a text message back, like, sure, no problem. Yeah. So there was something special about that place. A lot of memories were made. I was there for a good amount of time. So a lot of memories were had there, And I remember when I first got, when I did my boxing film.
When was this?
This was 2013.
Okay.
So now, thinking about this, I was there from my arrival to New Jersey from Virginia in around 2009. In 2013, I was still there. So I was there for a good amount of time. And I remember when I got, I'm fast forwarding, but I'll backtrack. I remember when I got, I found a partner to come on board to, finance the film. Low budget film, of course. He brought $5,000 to shoot that. I remember hiding all of that on the drop ceiling, and I'll push it, put my money there, push it, get my clothes, push it, get my belt, whatever, Wait. You would be amazed had that ceiling come down with the stuff that were on top of it. Ceiling started to get weaker, so I had to reduce my clothing up there, and it's like that mentality of surviving, of survival. Dude, that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. You have to take showers in the sink and make sure you're clean and make sure you're presentable. That's what you have to do. Find a way to no options, man. Just do what you have to do, Right. And that's what I did.
But you did this for years. I think that's
Yeah.
what people might
Yeah.
miss. Because right now, when I first met you and you told me, I shoot films. I'm in cinema. This is what I do for a living. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how does anyone get into that? Because what I see is the end product. I see you getting
right.
these decent sized jobs,
That's
decent budgets, where, you know, for me it's kind of like, all right, how do I get there?
Mhm.
And I don't think of taking showers in a commercial building. That's not, and that was, I'm sure if you can look back now, that was your crucible that made you who you are.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it because, you know, think about this. You sleep in the same place where a few hours ago somebody was sitting there talking business with you and getting ready to sign a check for you to do the documentary, you know. So it's like you're in the same spot, that same couch or the sofa seat, whatever. Love, it's just like the size, pretty much the size. That was the same one that I sat in to tell the person, hey, this project is gonna really look good when we're done. You know, those small budget, we're gonna do what we can. That's the same place that I slept. So I reflected on all of the things I had done in the afternoon or from morning, you know, and what is next for tomorrow. So that was such a crucial stage in my life, you know. And of course I don't want to go back to taking showers in the sink, but it was a moment that I really truly appreciated, you know. God gave me that place,
And I'm sure, you know, I'm just kind of thinking about how your dad knew you'll probably go through experiences like this when he took your hand to another country and said, I love you, my son, I'm going back home. He probably knew he's going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. He said something before we left. He said, you're going to suffer. And no, I kid you not, that's exactly what he said. He said, and that's my language. It means you're going to suffer. And I was like, you know, I said, okay. And in my head, I was like, why are you saying this to me? You know, aren't you supposed to say something encouraging? But what he was trying to say is like, I'm bracing you. Brace yourself for what can potentially happen to you that may not be good news. That you don't think that you're supposed to go through it and it's not fair. Well, nothing is fair, but just brace yourself, you know? Yeah. So when I was going through all of these things, every now and then I would reflect on what he said. Like, you're going to suffer, you know? But the end game, the end goal, you're going to make it, dude, you know?
And that this is what's really interesting to me. Again, how when you look at people who achieve a lot, who are very successful, and not just financially, but you look at certain people who have, and I look at my father when I think of this too, because he experienced what you experienced, and I've experienced maybe 10% of what he's, maybe not even, you know, maybe 5% of what he had to go through, and I'm almost jealous of that experience, and I'm jealous not because, you know, I'm jealous of the end goal, of the end result. It's the crucible. It's really what makes a diamond, right? That analogy. It's so cliche.
That's right.
But I see in you right now, you're going to figure out whatever happens. You know, kind of like that statement, and I was cracking up. I was trying not to laugh too loud. You just don't know how to give up.
No.
And I'm sure you have this confidence in you now, confidence in yourself, confidence in what God has given you. Whatever situation, you're going to make it work.
Yeah. And, you know, obviously, that was a time where I experienced God on a different level for provisions and totally relied on Him because it wasn't coming, you know, where was it going to come from? You know, and there have been times, you see, before I got the office, you know, I had mentioned earlier I was with a friend in my friend's studio. From the studio, I got a place not too far from the dispatch job that I had. And then they sold the building. And when that happened, I didn't have anywhere to go to. So I was homeless for maybe 48 hours. There was an Ihop across the street. That's where I would spend time in the lobby. I would like just sit there for hours and wait for its time to go to work, and then I'll go to work. I didn't have anywhere to go to because they had sold it and they like forcibly kicked me out. So from that place, before I got the office, I went to that basement that was charging $250. That said, hey, I'll give it to you for $250 if you clean it. The place looked like a bomb went off in there, but at least you have a home, right? You know, so I remember before, before the office, it's like so much that happened. There are times where I really didn't have anything to eat, because making very little from your job and having to pay rent. This was before the 250 deal and all of that, and there are times I was like, I'll go home. I was like, gee, 2 weeks I'll have nothing really on my shelves or in my kitchen to eat. Just like put things together and just get by, And to me, I know I'm going to survive. I know I'm going to be okay because I have almost died several times.
What do you mean?
So, shooting incidents, one of them in Ghana, 2 of them here in the States, and it's like I'm still here. The first one happened when my father has this shotgun at home. Almost every home, and it may be because it's related to like most of our ancestors had farms, so they had shotguns. So these guns perhaps are passed on, and I believe he will pass it on to one of my brothers or something like that. So he had the shotgun. I playfully put a bullet in the cartridge in it, cocked it, and because at this point in my life, I was in Ghana. This is before England, but they were in England, so I had the house and and obviously cannot shoot it, don't want to shoot it, so I laid it where I found it in the corner of the room. A friend of mine visited one day. He came with a friend of his who I had no idea who he was, but because he came with my friend, I allowed both of them into the house. So we're in my room, and we're sitting on my bed, and I'm talking to my friend. We're talking, and the friend that he brought with him is standing in the corner, right? The next thing I know, the gun goes off, and my friend and I get up from the bed, and we're like, dude, what did you just do? And I'm upset because he shot a big hole in the wall, right? And his mouth is wide open. The guy, he's holding a gun, a rifle, and he's like, you have no idea what just happened. And this is a story that I tell, a lot of people know this, even back home as well. He said, I pointed the barrel of the gun, because he had no idea it was loaded. I pointed the barrel of the gun to the back of your head, and something, this is his exact words, something moved the barrel from the back of your head to the wall. The mark in that wall, because I had plastered it and painted it, is still there up till now. And something moved the barrel of the gun from the back of your head to the wall. Your head would have been blown. He had absolutely no idea it was loaded. I mean, why would you have a loaded gun sitting in your room? And as a teenager, stupid teenager, I will not put it back where I found it, like in my father's quarters, and just left it right there. So many things happen, and even here, being held up with people who were robbing stores while I was there at the moment, shut up the entire place, and I was left to go. So it's like,
but I'm sorry.
No.
So you almost died a couple times.
7 times actually, I counted.
Yeah,
3 of them were gun shooting incidents. 1 of them was a drowning incident. The other one was falling from a two-story building. Car accidents. I mean,
okay. And I want to go back to kind of how, you mentioned how you didn't know how to give up.
Yeah.
A lot of people do know how to give up, which is why they took your belt away. A lot of people do fall into poverty where they're on the streets. What advice would you give to someone who's struggling and they don't have what you were given in terms of the mindset, the drive, even your genes, I guess, a part of you that was passed on by your family.
Yeah.
What if you're not strong there? What would you advise that person?
This is a tough one. It is tough because I don't see myself as, it's like I'm there yet, I have made it yet,
No.
Because I'm still growing. I never want to get in a place where I'm confident, But all I can say is, if you're in that place where you don't have anyone, there's this wonderful portion in Scripture that I'm always reminded of concerning David, where it talks about how he encouraged himself. There will be moments where no one will encourage you, there will be moments where no one will be there to say, hey, it's going to be okay, dude. Those are the very moments that you're going to have to step up to the plate and go, you know what? I am weak right now. There is absolutely no signs of anything good coming out of this one. You know, nothing good is going to come out of Nazareth. Nothing good is going to, you know, at this moment, it doesn't look good at all. But I'm going to try and survive today. I'm just going to try and survive this minute, you know. Let's forget about tonight. Let's forget about tomorrow morning. Let's just think about right now. I'm going to try and survive right now. You know, if I can just make it through right now, tomorrow is going to be all right, you know. And that was also one of the things that I held on to. If I could just survive right now. If I could just survive taking showers in this sink just right now. Yeah, in a few moments, somebody's going to walk up to the steps and go to their office, and they may catch me coming out wrapped around in the towel. But if I just survive right now and just get it over and just go and just continue something else from wherever I end up, it's going to be all right. So it was like, take the stress of trying to plan months and years to come from now when you're in those moments. Just try surviving right now. You know, right now is more important because it is the right nows that lead to those moments of eternity or moments of eternal joy or wherever that you will find yourself in terms of your vision and your passion. Right now is important. If I can survive this, you know, when you have a boxer in the ring, you know, MMA fighter, whatever, and you know, you have, let's say 2 minutes per round, you know, and you're being cornered and you can see that you've got like 30 seconds left. You know, and if you could just survive that 30 seconds, you know, the bell is going to ring, saved by the bell, you're going to go in your corner, you're going to get refreshed, you know, your people are going to tell you it's going to be all right, you're going to get something to drink. If you could just survive that 30 seconds, it's brutal, you know, because the opponent knows that last 30 seconds, if they could just knock you out, then there's no reason to come back for another round.
Yeah.
But if you yourself could just hold on for the remaining 30 seconds and just take the punches, it's okay, you know. So just survive right now. Survive right now.
I feel like there's something about being cornered where that mentality will come out. You know, I have this analogy I use with people close to me, but with my wife I talk about it too. How it's almost as if when you're cornered or when you're crunched for time, your mentality taps into a pool that is almost like that was passed on for thousands of generations. And there's this pool of survival that we all have. Yeah. But it's only when we're cornered that you can dip into it.
Correct.
When you're comfortable, it's hard to.
Correct.
You don't have to.
Correct.
And so I feel like it's ironic because you mentioned I'm not where I want to be yet.
That's right.
So I feel like you're still taking from that pool.
Oh, yes, sir. You know, it's like, to me, you know, and that going, you know, in general as a person, you become better and better and better and better. You know, if you're a father, you become better each and every day as a father. You're a husband, you're a friend, wherever that you find yourself. So to me, the same thing reflects to like what I do. And in my passport, it says profession filmmaker. Now, when I was filling the forms, I had to put one profession. And around this time, I had, you know, I was doing the radio station, I was doing this, I was doing that. I was doing quite a number of things. But the only thing that I felt led to write down was a filmmaker. And so every now and then when I pick up my passport and I see that, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm a filmmaker. So in terms of I'm not where I want to be, I don't think I will ever be. You know, I hear award-winning directors and cinematographers, and you hear them and they're like, yeah, you know, I get nervous each time I'm on set. And these are guys who you look up to, you know. And they, you know, Roger Deakins is a celebrated British cinematographer. He shot No Country for Old Men, just incredible work. And one of his interviews, he goes, the first day on set, he grabs the viewfinder and he just looks into it. And he doesn't know what the heck he's looking for. He just does not know what he's doing. He's just looking into the viewfinder just to steal him like a few seconds to like recollect and ask himself, gosh, what am I doing here? You know, so I kind of felt like, oh, I'm not the only one, you know. So you continue to grow. I am not there yet. I don't think I'll be there anytime soon. I don't know if I'll ever be there while I'm on this earth, because I want to continue to push and push and push and push the limits. Yeah, man, and growth is really the goal here.
What do you mean by not in your lifetime?
Because as long as I live, I'll continue to push myself, and I'll continue to circumvent that place, to run away from that place of comfort, or maybe cockiness, or I'm not cocky, but to be in a place where you think, I think I'm okay here. I've been able to, I know how to work this, I know how to work that. No, I want to grow. I want to always be able to defy things in terms of the norm. If every cinematographer in America is doing it this way, I want to do it that way. Very soon I'm gonna ditch my digital camera and go back to film. It's like I really want to do things that I don't find people doing. And to me, according to science, right, you've got billions of people on this earth. According to science, the eyeball of each and every individual in this world is different. Your eye, and you take two people of the same, take twins. Their eyes, according to science, if you use a macro lens to look into this, it looks nothing alike. I mean, from the outside and from the onset, it looks like it's an eye, but the construction of it, the iris, the pupil, everything looks different. So the question is, if the Creator, God, made your eye to be different from the next person, why should your vision be alike? Why should your work look like the next person? So to me, you can find inspiration from people. There's nothing wrong with that. All of us are inspired by other people and the work of others, and will continue to be inspired. Other people will be inspired by us. We will be inspired by them. That is the way of life. But to force yourself, or to just allow yourself to be in a place where your work has to look like the next person, I don't think is necessary. So as long as I live, I will continue to define my own work. To grow and not think, okay, this is it. You can give me, I can get a camera worth $50,000 to shoot a film, and I'm going to sit there and watch. My wife criticizes me of this, and she says I'm never satisfied when it comes to work, in terms of my work. And not because I'm a workaholic, but it's like, not necessarily you can do more, but, I remember when we shot The Matriarchs, and we were like looking at the dailies, and someone was like, wow, this looks so dope. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, it does, yeah. It's like, it's not like I'm not excited for things, but it's like, you can do more, you can do more. You can branch out.
I think that's a mindset that. So if it's twofold, it's probably exponentially worse. Versus because you are an immigrant, and nothing, in a sense, will. I don't want to say like erase you from all your experiences, but there's always opportunity from starting out in a basement that looks like it was exploded.
Yeah.
And there was always going to, you see, I guess, how high it can go.
Yeah.
So it can always be better.
Correct.
And also, it's also, I think, certain personalities where you're a perfectionist. You will always try to, it's just inherent in you. So it doesn't matter where you were or what your experiences are, that's just a part of who you are. So if you have both, then even more so.
That's right.
But I want to be a little bit sensitive to time. And I just want to finish off with two short questions. You can take it where you want. First is, if you can put a message, you type in google.com, search bar pops up. If you could type a message in that, what message would you put there?
Message for people to...
For the whole world, if they were to type in google.com, boom, something pops up.
As a Christian, the first, and these are my personal beliefs, those who watch may have other belief system, but as a Christian, the first thing is the gospel. In terms of what I do, in terms of what I have been through, in terms of where, and in terms of what I have been through, maybe there are other hard times coming that I don't even know of, and maybe that's why I don't get excited over things, because you may go through the next season of your life and experience something even more difficult than your past. So the message will be
brace yourself. You're going to suffer.
Nah, I won't be that depressing to the hearers, but the message will be trust the process.
Okay.
Trust the process, And you know what I've realized, man? There is scripture, depending on what you believe in, there is a passage written by King Solomon, and he goes, time and chance happens to every man. Now, he didn't say every Christian, every man. So you have no matter what your belief systems are, your belief system is, or beliefs are, time and chance will happen to you. You will run into a place, a season in your life where, irrespective of what you believe, and this is true, it's been proven, irrespective of what you believe, you will run into wonderful chances. But remember, it goes time and chance. It's like it's a collective, unit. Time and chance. It takes time for those chances to happen. Time and chance. You cannot rip one from the other. They go together. It's like a book. So here and then there, and it closes and makes a whole book. Time and chance. So trust the process. That would be the first thing. Trust the process that you are in. You may not like the process, but trust the process. The process was here before you got here.
Question 2. Where do you want, in a perfect world, so theory is always free and easy to talk about. In 10 years from now, where do you want to be?
Where?
Well, not so much of, I guess more specifically, what kind of projects in 10 years from now do you want to be working on?
Great question. So, I have changed a lot. Few months ago, I would take projects because I'm paid to do it. But up till maybe 2 months ago, a month and a half, if your project is really does not interest me, I don't think it's going to be for the greater good, I don't want to be a part of your project. I just don't want to work on a project because I'm getting paid to do it. I want to work on a project because it has substance and is meaningful. It doesn't have to be truth. It just has to be meaningful for whoever has hired me to do it, and also for me. I want to work on projects that not only speak to me, because that will be selfish, but speak to people who, to tell stories of people, And I take that very, very seriously. When someone brings a script to me to shoot, even if it's fiction, I go, well, somebody has lived this before. If it has something to do with somebody who lost a relative on a plane crash, or people, although that particular story is not about a person that we both know, it's happened to people before. So I take it very seriously when someone goes, I want to film this, So 10 years from now, the hope is to 100% solely do projects, not only projects that I write, but projects from other people that are just straight up meaningful, meaningful projects, just creative art. Just let's forget about what is out there. Let's forget about technology. I'm sorry. Let's forget about all of that, because 20 years from now, people were creating art. 50 years ago, 20 years ago, people were creating art, and we didn't have our digital cameras. We didn't have our Final Cut. We didn't have our Premiere, Adobe Premiere, and all of this great stuff that we have. It's good. It's a privilege. But let go of all of that and just create art, and that's what I really want to be a part of.
Last question, and I love that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, please. I don't mind talking at all.
The last question is: if your son, he's 4 years old right now, watches this, let's say again 10 to 20 years from now, what message would you have want him to hear? Let's say when you're, how old are you right now?
33 in October. Well, wow, we're in October. Yeah, 33 in a few days, I guess.
What message would you want him to hear in the future?
That partly this was all done for you. If you take a look at this,
it's like your grandfather and your great-grandfather, all of them did this so you can have this very moment that you're, wherever you are that you're watching this, so you can have that very moment. This was all done for you. Nothing was done without you in mind, you know. And I tell you this, you know, when you're a child, this is all for you. Everything that you see around you is all for you. I tell you like 20 times a day how much I love you, you know. And the same thing that you've heard in this video, the same thing goes for you, to trust the process. Trust the process that you're in, whether I'm around or I'm not around. You've had enough love and enough confidence and enough I'm proud of yous to carry you through. This was all done for you. Nothing was done without you in mind. Trust the process and don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. Even if you spend 30 minutes a day to chase a goal, it is better than you went, you know, it doesn't matter how much you spend, you know, during your day chasing a goal, as long as a certain time of the day was dedicated to you chasing this goal. All right? If you continue to do so, you give yourself some time, very soon the goal will start chasing you. You know, so trust the process. Don't be lazy, and know every single thing that your ancestors have gone through. You know, and by that, I don't even know where your grandfather will be at that moment, but every single thing they've gone through. Trust the process and know it's all made for you.
So
I hope I didn't get too philosophical with that.
No, I think, you know, life is too short to not think about the bigger picture.
Yeah, man.
So for all my listeners, future listeners, if you want to pursue a dream, a passion, your calling, whatever that might be, if you don't know what that is, are you willing to hit new rock bottoms? I think Rich has shown that it's very possible to, you know, live in a commercial building, take showers out of sinks for years.
Oh man!
To find and just to pursue it. And I think that's what people need to hear. People need to realize. And if you don't have it, then you know, accept that. That's where you are now. But realize that that process that you're talking about, it's there for everyone. And everyone's not going to have to go through it. Rich, brother, thank you so much.
And thank you,
for this, man.
Thank you.
I'm super excited for putting this together and for anyone who might learn
Absolutely.
something too.
Absolutely. You know, anytime, man.